welcome back. Today we are going to discuss health, scarcity, and how detox is more than just our physical body and how we can address scarcity, health, and so much more with the idea of detox. But let's change what we traditionally think is detox. So, for many years, I have been a health focused person. I started back in, I don't know, 2007. I was very sick through my pregnancies and my body was so inflamed. And this is when I learned the idea of detox. So it's been a really interesting journey. I started detoxing at that point in time. It started with food, and I was very focused on the physical body. But fast forward, man, time flies, right? So now here we are in 2024. My children are grown. They're basically in their 20s. So it's been a very long time of me living this very health focused life. And now in my 40s, I look at detox as so much more than I did back in my 20s. And so in this conversation, what I think our goal is to really talk about how detox impacts not just the health, but we can also address things like scarcity mindset, even our the topic we just spoke about, which is like how we let go, right? Detox is a letting go. That's what detox is. We're letting go, we're purging. So I'm really excited about this topic because this is one that you and I banter on all day long. We're constantly talking about the physical, the spiritual, all these things. And we're really in the process physically right now, both of us, we're going through a detox on the health side too. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting journey. And so, my thoughts and kind of opinions on the topic continue to evolve as I do, right? I mean, I was trained in Western medicine where we were told your body detoxifies itself. You don't need additional support. Like, you don't need supplements. You don't need, to do meditation or mindfulness. Like, your body just knows what to do. My journey has told me very differently. My body does need support. But it's not just physical, it's mentally, it's emotionally, it's the things I'm exposed to, right? Like when we have overwhelming issues within our body, it's also something spiritual. It is something emotional. It is, the inputs we're receiving from the world around us, right? Who we're surrounded with. And so, let's start with the health aspect, right? Because it's something that's so personal to both of us. We live in a time where, we have to be the own stewards of our health, right? The healthcare system is so broken, the food system is so broken, and it's really about being empowered and educating yourself on the things you put in your body, from a let's just start with food, like from a food perspective and the impact that has, right? And as we, have talked about before, this is a very personal journey. So what my body needs to detox and heal is not what yours needs, is not what the next person needs. And even, naturopathic and functional medicine are incredible because they are much more tailored, but they still follow a blueprint that assumes people kind of need similar things for their healing. And my journey has been like it has showed me that is not the case. Like this is a very intuitive process. And when I think I got something figured out, it changes. And that's been really frustrating. I've been on this health journey really since 2020, very kind of diligently. And the things that worked a few years ago no longer work. The things that worked this spring no longer work. And it's like peeling back layers of an onion. And, I've had many breakdowns of like, why is this so freaking difficult? I don't want to be the expert in every area of my life, yet that is what is being asked of me. Like nobody knows your body better than you. You can't outsource that. And so it really comes to, when we think about detoxification on the physical side, um, what are our bodies liking or reacting to? We were just talking this morning about some of the stuff we had last night. Like, I had a vegan smoothie and my body was pissed. Like, it did not like that at all. And I had a horrible night. And it's like, okay, I thought that was healthy. I thought I was doing something good for my body. My body was not a fan. And I get to like kind of fine tune. All right. So that wasn't a win. Let's just check out some other things that might be a little bit more like satisfying today that make me actually feel good, mentally, physically. I don't feel sluggish. And part of that has been I've done a lot of research. I've read a lot of books, and I don't know if that's helped me or caused me more frustration in the end because I know too much. But I also kind of have a starting point on, all right, I know some of the most highly inflammatory things in terms of food. When your body's healing, you want to reduce inflammation. And food is a big thing, but also mentally, emotionally, right? Like if I'm living in an environment of chaos, or I'm in a position where I don't like my career. I love my career, but if I didn't, those all contribute, to the perceived stress on the body. And stress can come from a lot of different places. So, to kind of jump off there, I'd love to hear from you because I know you've been on this longer than I have.
Yeah, I started in my 20s. And I always laugh a little bit because there was a point in my life, I think I was in my 30s, where my coworkers at that time, I didn't own my own business. I was dairy free, gluten free, sugar free, grain free. I was all the frees, and they would joke that I was fun free. And it was funny and it wasn't. But this started for me, like I said, after I had my son. And when I say, like, I've done all the things. I really have yet to figure out what I haven't done. I was very overweight. Um, that it was horrible. I was the overweight girl in my 20s that ran, that cut calories. I mean, I remember doing Weight Watchers and like little point systems, but I was so inflamed. My health was suffering so badly. And I had arthritis in my 20s. My thyroid numbers were all out of whack. I was significantly depressed. This is a real journey people go through, and it was the darkest. It was one of the darkest times for me. Um I talked about it a lot because when I hit that wall, it was after several attempts at doctor's appointments and kind of getting the same answer. Eventually, they didn't know, and it was, you're depressed. I thought at that time, that's what we were told. You're depressed. Part of me is like, you're not 100% wrong. You're not 100% wrong. I am depressed. Now, knowing it's like, yeah, I had a lot of mental anguish. So, what came first there? But there was this whole entire physical aspect as well. And I remember coming home from that last doctor's appointment and just thinking, I'm done. Talk about letting go. I completely surrendered every thought I had. My health now trumped in urgency to my weight. I felt terrible. I had young children. I didn't feel like I was a good mom. I couldn't be a good mom. How can you be a good mom? And that's when I literally, Ange, I turned to Google. I Googled it, and I say that so often, but what I did actually is I took all my power back. And I said, forget it. I'm done buying into every idea that's being force fed to me. And I'm just going to do something on my own. And the first thing, my thyroid was really the problem that kept popping up. There were many, but that was the one that popped up. And the first thing I read back in 2007, mind you, with my probably dial up internet, was gluten. And I'm like, what is gluten? Okay. So that was the very tippy top of the journey. And since then, I have had monumental lessons in this. I have gone gluten free. I later went grain free. Then I went dairy free. So, all those things. I cut sugars out. I was completely low carb. I've done the paleo. I've done the keto. I've done the intermittent fasting. I've done 5-day water fasts. I have done incredible things, but I've tried them all. You're right now playing with what, like a raw diet. I did a high raw diet. And I allowed myself to experiment with this. And from the outside looking in, and we had this conversation, people, number one, the first thing they noticed was a transformation of the person I was. I didn't realize at that time that this journey was teaching me how to let go. This journey was teaching me how to enjoy different foods. This journey was teaching me discipline. I was building my own knowledge base. I was understanding disease on a different scale. So I was detoxing every aspect of myself and my body. I had no idea. And so today, on this whole journey, now it's 20 years later. Let's just say we're close to about 20 years now. And my life looks very different than those many early years, even some of those mid years. I've detoxed a lot, but now I'm detoxing belief systems about food because you're right. Our body wants different things. My body doesn't like doing keto anymore. My body doesn't want a low carb diet. My body wants carbohydrates. I'm not the same age. I'm not the same person. And I don't believe the same things. So detox has been just a evolutionary thing over the past 20 years for me. And now I have a whole new set of lessons. So that's my detox journey. If anybody wants to know about any of those diets, girl, I'm telling you, I taught classes on this. This is my thing. I know a lot about it, but it's taught me a lot about everything else. And it's also taught me about myself in some really deep ways.
Yeah. And it really comes down to radical accountability. We've been taught that the doctors know best, or that, we can go to this expert and they'll do the test and they'll tell you what's wrong. And so many of us, if you've dealt with autoimmune, if you've dealt with an undiagnosable health condition, but you don't feel well, the gaslighting is real. And I've had that from practitioners in functional medicine who are like, well, everything's fine. Just start this. And things didn't get better, and I'm like, I'm still having symptoms and you're throwing more supplements at me, but nothing's changing. And, that really for me was the point of, now it's time to go inward. And you've done everything externally. You've spent tens of thousands of dollars externally on all these things, and you're not getting any further. And then that was really like the point of, okay, and that was my whole journey, like leading up to the health, right? Was like, I did all the external. And then when you exhaust that, it's like, oh, it's time to go inward, right? Because sometimes it is as simple as, you're deficient in a certain thing. But more often than not, as complex humans, there are more layers to that. And again, the medical gaslighting is so real. And a lot of people that are on an autoimmune journey, I think the average number of physicians they see before they get a diagnosis is like 11. I mean, it's a crazy number of people they move through to actually get a diagnosis. Now, I'm not someone here who's saying chase a diagnosis. I personally don't care about diagnoses because I know the body has the capacity to heal. But it is more of, okay, how can I turn inward, get intuitive, and discern what my body's needing, right? Because it might just be a fine tuning of my diet. And for me, that's been a big part of it. But it's also, what is the suffering inside that's driving a lot of this, right? Like, what emotional things am I not yet dealing with? And I think if we all got honest, many of us struggle with food, and I'm no different. And if you give me a plan to follow, I will follow it. I am compliant. If I'm not on it, I'm off the rails, and I will eat what I want when I want. And there are very few fruits and veggies in there. It's almost like an all or nothing mentality. And that's my own trauma and bullshit that I get to navigate through. Um, but food is such a powerful part of that. And so when I've started to clean this up, it's like, oh, I'm really uncovering actually a lot of the emotion. The food was just the cover for me, right? Like, that was just the thing I did to pacify myself, to feel safe, to feel comfortable, to appease my boredom or whatever. But it's like, but it was never about that, and the body was manifesting in dis-ease for a purpose. But a lot of that is also tied to belief. And so the area that you and I talk about a lot is, there's a lot of spiritual bypassing I see with people. Well, if you're ascended enough, or if your highest vibration is in the state of joy and authenticity, food doesn't matter. You can eat whatever you want. That's not true. Like, maybe, but I don't I don't at this time believe that to be accurate. We do live in the 3D where our bodies are having, having impacts from the things around it. Now, in an ideal environment where our bodies are perfectly healthy, could it, attain and receive all these other foods? Probably. But we also know the food system in America is broken, which is why people that have autoimmune or have different diseases go overseas and eat. And they're like, oh my God, I could eat the pasta in Italy and I felt amazing. I could have their dairy and ice cream and I felt perfect. So, we're also contending with the matrix that is America that's very, very broken. And becoming an advocate for your own health is freaking hard. A lot of listeners out there, you probably have families and kids and busy careers, and it just feels like another thing to have to worry about. But it's not about worrying and getting into the negative emotions. It's about the empowerment that comes with the knowledge. And again, not outsourcing this to any doctor, right? I mean, the doctors and naturopaths and folks out there can be great resources, and you are still the ultimate authority, right? And so if someone's saying something that doesn't resonate, it's really on you to be like, that's not it. I am not going to do that. That's not what I need right now. And I've been very fortunate to find people along my journey who work with that, use their intuition, who are willing to hear what I have to say and say, yep, that sounds like a good plan. Go ahead and try that, and let's just circle back. But that's not easy. And that, unfortunately, in the modern era, is a privilege, right? Like it's so expensive. It's so expensive to invest in functional medicine, to invest in coaching, to invest in all the things that are a part of our healing. But also, I wouldn't do it any differently, because if I don't have my mental health, my physical health, my emotional and spiritual health, I don't have anything. So for me, it is absolutely a priority. I will move, mountains to make this work. And that's resulted at times in some debt. And I don't love that. But at the same time, I got to do what I got to do, because I also knew, 5 years ago when I started to make these changes and had my awakening, if I don't make changes now, I will not be here in 5 years. Like it was that dire. And I think a lot of people are hitting that kind of dark night of the soul where it's like, I need to make a change now, or I'm at a breaking point. And it is up to us only to do that. And I see so many people on the struggle bus right now with this, and the
Mhm.
power always comes back to us every single time. And as we've talked about, it's not the easy journey. It freaking sucks sometimes. And I cry often. I
A lot.
get in my bullshit and my frustration, right? But yet it's like I've built a tribe of people who understand, who don't think I'm crazy, who like don't think that this is ludicrous that I'm seeking out these different things. And not that we're broken either, but also that I want to maximize my life. I want to be here for my children, and I want to be the best version of myself, which means being vital, having a clear mind, sleeping well so I have the energy and the, level emotions to handle what comes my way. If I don't have that, I'm not in a good place.
Yeah. And really what we're breaking here is the pattern. It's a pattern. So if you go back in time, to say my parents' generation, what is that? The boomers, right? And even before. So the generation before was kind of introduced to go to your doctor, go to your doctor. My parents' generation, the boomers, and it's just easier for people to identify, but they were very much go to the doctor, right? Watch your cholesterol. Don't eat eggs. It's bad for you. Don't have salt. It's bad for you. But they were kind of the TV tray, or what do they call it? Like a TV dinner, the microwavable in the box. They really introduced that. I remember growing up having a garden outside where we had, and it was a huge garden. We had our own green beans and we'd pick them, and we raspberries, and we'd have these big family meals. But we also had cases of Coca-Cola and Little Debbie's and Dorito chips and all these things. So there was this changeover that happened between these generations, but you went to the doctor for everything. And you know what? If one of your organs didn't work, you just had it removed, right? As long as you could still live, like your gallbladder or your pancreas, or not your pancreas, your appendix, all these things. And so then there was this transition really in my generation where people were going, you know, maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't be doing all of this. And we were unhealthy. I feel like my life is kind of a living documentary of what happened. And so we broke that and we ended up in the functional medicine world. So enter in functional medicine. What didn't change though is we kept farming out everything to somebody else. All this power we have to learn and grow. I do think I broke that myself, but I also fell victim to it a few times. Like, okay, well, I'm going to go to you to fix me now. You're going to fix me. Please fix me. And then they couldn't. Right? I might have gotten a little takeaway, but they didn't. And how disappointing that is. And what I'm trying to say is that all these things set us up for a failure within ourselves. We spend a lot of money, we spend a lot of time, and we put a lot of faith in something outside of ourselves.
Mhm.
And that's the hard part about now, because we were just talking about this. Nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to rescue your ass from any of it. You will have to figure out how to get back to yourself. And that's going to look very different. So I'm not going to tell you how that looks. You're not going to tell me how that looks. Having the support system is important, and being able to say to another person, I need you to trust yourself. Because if you want to detox what really has to be let go, you're going to have to be able to trust yourself.
Completely. And that also means doing the hard thing. Um, you can't out supplement a bad lifestyle. If you're, when I was that girl, so I'm not throwing too much shade because I was that girl, right? Like, just tell me what supplements to take, and I'll still eat my popcorn and my cheese and my ice cream and all my yummy food. And it's not
Mhm.
that those are bad things, but my body right now and at that point couldn't handle those things. And so I thought if I took the right supplements, like I could still continue with the terrible patterns that got me sick in the first place. And again, the mindset, right, of I'm not actually addressing the root cause of what's going on, because everything first starts from within and then it manifests externally, right? So if I'm in a state of high stress and constant tension, my body eventually is going to give. And right when we're in high stress, our food choices are poor. Our mental emotional choices are poor. We're probably not sleeping. We're maybe over caffeinating. We're doing all these other things because on an internal level, we're not good. And I think if more people were honest with themselves, that would be the true conversation we'd be having. Um, and the external doing of the interventions is only a part of it, right? And it has, as you said, it's come down to even the best functional medicine person, they can't do the work for you. They can give you suggestions and say, hey, with someone who has a situation similar to yours, here's what we've seen work. That could very well work for you if you followed it. Or maybe your genetics, right, are that's not fully the whole spectrum of what you need. And as we talked about, and I want to kind of jump into the scarcity here, a lot of people, the conversations are had, I can't afford this. You can't afford to not do it. You can't, you it's and if you're a person who you can't put food on the table for your children, right? I'm not telling you go spend thousands of dollars on your health. However, I will challenge that and say we live in a time where we have abundant opportunities everywhere. We've never had access to the world like we do now. There is money to be made everywhere. And so if you're someone who's going to push back, I'm going to challenge you and say, I see people all the time pulling themselves up, making ends meet and figuring it out, right? And there are opportunities for sliding scale to work with some of these really great providers or coaches who can just kind of help you, but you've got to be willing to help yourself first. And if you want a handout, this is not the world we live in anymore, right? Like you're never going to have an excellent life if you're not willing to first take accountability. Um, and that's going to be some harsh love, and I will stand my ground on that, and people might get pissed and triggered, but again, look inward. What about this is triggering you? That some white girl is saying you can do it. We've been those girls. We've been the people who've been through hell and trauma and all kinds of shit, and I did not get handouts. I had to figure it out. And while I can appreciate we all have different circumstances, and I'm not going to say that everyone's life is easy, but also we choose our suffering. And, if you want health and wellness, you have to be willing to do what it takes. And maybe you don't need to hire somebody, right? Maybe you just start with making simple lifestyle changes. Get rid of the gluten, get rid of the dairy, start meditating. Oh my goodness, that could be astronomical for you. That could move the needle far more than it did for me, right? And those are such simple things that everybody can do. Even if the resources aren't abundant, you could start there and you're going to see changes. And again, you're going to start bringing up other triggers, right? If you've been used to sitting down with your, box of crackers every night and just numbing out on the TV and that's gone, you're going to start revealing some other emotional shit that needs to be attended to, right?
You and I get so fired up about this. I lost my ability to give two shits so long ago about this. I I did not have any of these opportunities just here you go. I had to walk through a ton of fear. A young mom who was just trying to make it. We were a young married couple at the time and we had young children. And when I had to face heavy metal poisoning, I mean, I thought I was going to die. It had gotten my chronic issues were so debilitating that water was about all I could tolerate. And I'm not just saying a tummy ache. I mean, we're talking lesions on my face. And my whole life just fell apart in a year.
Mhm.
And I found a solution, but that solution was $13,000 up front that I didn't have. But my health, I knew was the most important part. I wanted my life back. I wanted to be a good mom. And there were a lot of tears and a lot of fear, but I did it. And it taught me that. And then when people would say, Jessica, what did you do? What did you do? I looked like a different person. I was a different person. My viewpoint on the world changed. What did you do? They wanted the play by play. And when I told them what I did, oh, I don't want to do that. Oh, that's a lot of money. I don't want to spend that. But then I watch them go spend it on another thing that they think is going to fill their cup. That's not them. And
Mhm.
I lost all my cares for it.
Yep.
It is your choice. And I'll tell you that to this day. Then you don't want it bad enough.
100%. And that's, I came from the world of hospice nursing and I saw so many people who outsourced. And I'm not saying, I have such deep passion for that work, but I saw so many people outsource their power when they had diagnoses versus understanding there were more options there, right? And just attaching to what the doctors have said. And I see it all around me with people that, have taken note of my journey and been like, that's so cool that you could do that. I couldn't. Okay, that's a choice. You're
Mhm.
prioritizing something else over you. You want the newest iPhone instead of your health. The number of calls I have for hypnotherapy, people want to quit this habit or that, but they don't want to invest in it. Yet they're spending thousands of dollars on their habit. It's like, okay, that's a choice. Then you don't want it. And that's okay. We're not here to judge you at all. We live and let live. That's totally okay. But we're not the girls you're going to come to with a lot of sympathy if you're not willing to do the thing that needs to get done. And, you going from such a critical health issue to becoming a multi six-figure business owner, right? Like you are the epitome of what's possible when you do the damn work. And so many people have stories of just massive success that came from nothing or have had profound health challenges and have overcome that. So, and again, we'll talk about the circle you're in. If you're around people who are victims, who are outsourcing their power, you're going to be stuck in that same energy. So find a new circle. Find the people that are doing what you want to do. Surround yourself with them because energetically it's going to lift you up. It's going to empower you. It's going to show you what's possible. And you're not going to be in that dense energy where you feel like life's happening to you, right?
Yeah. And don't get stuck in your excuses. Don't get stuck in them. Let them teach you what they need to teach you. Because people will say, well, I can't do that because I work this schedule, right? I can't eat better because I'm always on the road. Mm-mm. Nope. I don't buy it. I can't afford that because we only make this much money. Mm-mm. Nope. I don't buy it. I'm like this with my clients too. And this is the thing, this is the gift I got from it. This is why I'm good at what I do. When my clients come to me and they vent it all out, like people do with their health, well, I have all these things and I have all these problems. They come to me the same way. There's no difference. I am a solution zone. I am not your complaint department. So if you're going to complain to me, be prepared to figure it out. And if you don't want to do the things, this door only remains open for you when you are ready to do the things.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying I do all the perfect things. I choose all the time. Last night I had pizza. I knew that choice would create a bad morning for me today. I knew it wasn't going to be the best choice for me, but I really like pizza. And that's the way I live. And what I'm not going to do is come to Angie and be like, Angie, I just feel so sick today. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't feel my best. I don't know why I feel a little foggy. I'm going to come in and say, guess what? I ate pizza. It messed me up a little bit. And so we're going to do this, and I'm going to be a little congested, and I'm going to be a little inflamed. And that's just accountability. That's the radical accountability.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Make the choice, but know exactly what choice you're making and own it.
And own it. And that's exactly as we got on our call earlier. I was like, yep, I had a raw plant-based smoothie at bedtime and it tore me up and it was horrible, right? Thinking I'm making a good choice, right? And I'm like, and I feel horrible. I feel like ass. And that was a choice, you know. I had something with banana and cacao in it, and I knew the cacao was not going to probably end in the best night's sleep. But then clearly some of the ingredients didn't sit well, and so I did make a choice, and I get to change that choice today because my body was like, "We don't like that, no, thank you," and I get to laugh about it because it's funny, and it's all about some of this too is like having a little sense of humor in the hilarity of some of what's happening because if you can't laugh at the stupidity of some of these things, like, yeah, I love pizza. I freaking love it. It's so damn good and it doesn't like me. That sucks. And it's funny. Like, okay, let's just make this a little bit lighter because not all of it has to be serious too, right? And what a different energy coming at the healing. Um, and I'm just trying different things and seeing what happens, like
And enjoy it.
and enjoy it. And even if it doesn't go well, laugh at it and be like, well, I learned something new. That didn't go
It
well. All
didn't
right.
steal my joy,
I
right? It didn't steal my joy.
no, no, it's
I
just a
don't feel
different
optimal today, but I'm happy.
yes,
I enjoyed my pizza
totally.
with that. That's a choice, right? I'm going to just say that was the best pizza excursion I've had in a while, and I enjoyed it. And so today I'm not going to do the same thing. Today I'm going to drink more water. I'm going to maybe, take a little more activated charcoal tonight when I go to bed just to help like clear out the residue. And those are all choices too. Trust me, in the world we live in today, with everything you see happening around you, you're going to want to start to become your own choice maker because you will not have any choice in what's going on outside of your bubble. And you will feel like a perpetual victim forever and ever and ever until you own your role, you own your choices, and you figure out what that's going to look like in the future.
Yeah. And, I want to leave the listeners with some tangible kind of action steps, right? We talked about a lot of great things today and health and scarcity kind of being the primary focuses. And so a lot of times it's like, okay, what do I do? What's my first step? Well, first evaluate what's going on in your life that's priority, right? Like, again, coming from healthcare, I'm like, you got to triage that. Like, triage what is the most priority. For me, health is that, right? Like, I think for most of us, if our health's not good, nothing else in our life is going to work well. So if you have something going on health wise, then acknowledge, okay, this is my focus area. So maybe if you're a little overweight, maybe you say, okay, I'm going to start just really focusing on a diet that's conducive to supporting my body. And you start there and really commit to making that a habit. And then maybe you add in a little exercise program, right? I call it habit stacking. You don't want to do too much because you self sabotage. You're using willpower and then you get tired and you quit. So start with like a small, simple step that you can commit to doing that you know is going to move you in the direction, right? You're going to want an overall goal for yourself, right? So think big picture. What do I want? I want restored health. I want, to be a certain weight or size or whatever. Start with that big picture, have that big picture, but then like, what's the small actionable steps that can get you there? And I know that sounds so elementary, but it really is how this stuff works. And then the gap kind of gets filled in, hold your eye on the end prize and then backfill. What can I do? And those parts of your path begin to fill in, right? Maybe the right functional doctor or somebody you're meant to work with just comes into your periphery because someone mentioned something that caught your attention. You're like, I should check them out. That might be the one for you, or it's a part of your journey to get to the next person. And if it's scarcity thinking, right, and it's finances, okay, so big picture, what do you want in your life? You want to have abundance beyond measure? Okay, cool. Starting today, what can you do? Okay, maybe I don't like buy so much shit on Amazon, right? Like maybe I start to be a little bit more of a steward of my finances or make a budget. There's always something that you can do to move towards that final step. You are not a victim, but no one is going to do it for you. No one is going to come flying in on a magic carpet and say, this is how you live your life to achieve your dreams. You have to freaking do it. You've got to be willing to take the steps, bottom line. So, um, I hope that helps just kind of give a starting point. Again, it's so elementary. It's probably not like this exciting new thing. But it's really, how you and I have gotten to where we are, which we've done so much work over the years. And it's been the most rewarding and challenging and beautiful experience ever. I wouldn't do it differently.
No, there are no regrets. And let's not overcomplicate it, right? This is simple, but it's a decision. You have to decide and you have to own that. So we love this topic. Again, I think it's going to be one that we're going to always revisit because you and I do this all the time. We're always on a new journey to explore what we don't know about ourselves. And that is a lot of fun. And sometimes it's really frustrating, but
Mhm.
we're here to provide that entertainment for you.
That's right. You
And we
can live
will.
vicariously through us. It's fine.
Awesome. Well, another great topic, Angie, and I hope that people took away something valuable here. Um, we really enjoy it. So thank you for tuning in.
Yeah. Thanks. See you next time.
See you guys.